Thursday afternoon, a tornado warning has just been issued. It's a bit of rotation. Northern Crisp County heading into Dooley County. This warning, as of right now, includes 3 of our counties, that being Dooley, Pulaski, and Wilcox. And this tornado warning is in effect until 3:15 p.m. This storm moving off to the north-northeast about 30 miles per hour right now. If you are in that zone or in one of those 3 counties, I would definitely suggest taking shelter. If you're in the warning zone, you need to be in your safe place right now. In terms of a safe place, where is that? Lowest level of your house. Interior most room, preferably no windows, and it would be a good idea to have something like a helmet with you, some pillows or blankets in the event of some flying debris to help protect you. But tracking this storm off to the northeast, we're tracking Hawkinsville potentially being impacted by about 3:34, and there's no confirmation as of right now that this is a tornado on the ground. We are just seeing some rotation being indicated on the radar. But I have been following this for some time, and this rotation has been pretty persistent with this storm. A look at it outside of the velocity mode, we are seeing pretty intense amounts of rainfall with this as well. We've got plenty of lightning. A lot of that's probably cloud to ground lightning. And so, again, this is right now the rotation in Northern Crisp County. It is about to cross over into Dooley County. That is going to be the next area that is impacted by this line of storms.
Crisp County says damage with power lines and trees down.
All right, Crisp County is reporting power lines and trees down. Do we have a location on that, or just somewhere in the county as of right now? All righty, cool. All right, so that's trees down with this. So that is suggesting at least some sort of damage coming out of this storm. So once again, Hawkinsville, one of our larger areas that's going to be in this path. Tippettville, you're going to be first up. We're talking about 15 minutes away or so before that arrives in that area. Once again, this is not in any of our middle Georgia counties yet, but Dooley County will be the first one to experience it. This is going to stay to the east of I-75, so anybody traveling on the interstate's okay right now, although, of course, those wet conditions not ideal for traveling. Vienna, you're okay right now. Unadilla, you're probably going to be okay, but you're just outside of this warning zone. I would definitely be thinking about taking shelter in the event that this should end up going a little more north than, say, north-northeast, because right now we're projecting this on a north-northeast path, and again, moving northward at about 30 miles per hour. But if it should shift a little more to the west, which these storms, again, kind of overall going to be doing a bit of a circle around from the south-southeast over towards northwest throughout the day, that's where that threat unfortunately does still exist. So Unadilla, maybe not completely in the clear, but Vienna, based on where this circulation is right now, you should be okay. Now, if we look further north, there is not much else going on in the region right now, so that's some good news. And the rotation is not super intense, but it's also not super close to the radar yet. So we're still waiting to see just kind of how tight this ends up getting as it continues to head northward. The good news right now is we aren't seeing anything being indicated on our correlation coefficient. This is how we indicate debris balls associated with tornadic activity. But this is kind of far away from the radar, so we may not be seeing that low to the ground. As you get further away from the radar, the beam goes further up, and so we're seeing higher into the atmosphere. When it comes to things like tornadoes, you want to be able to see closer to the ground, as that's where the impacts are. So, maybe a little bit of something suggestive right here that is overlaid with that bit of rotation that we are seeing, but nothing conclusive as of right now that's saying that, hey, this is guaranteed on the ground. But we've got damage reports out of Crisp County, and that rotation's been hanging on for a little while right now. So if you are, once again, in the eastern parts of Dooley County or the westerns, particularly the northwestern parts of Wilcox County, and then into the southwestern portions of Pulaski County, you need to be in your safe place right now. Have a weather radio with you so you know when those warnings expire. Stay with us. We will let you know when it is all clear. Water bottle, a good idea to try and stay hydrated. Of course, remain calm. Gather your pets, anything like that to keep safe. But interior, lowest level room, preferably away from windows. A helmet, a great idea to protect your head, because the big danger with these things is flying debris that is just moving very, very fast, and it doesn't take a lot to do, unfortunately, be life-threatening. So that's unfortunately what we're dealing with here. Nothing suggesting 100% that this is on the ground right now, but I definitely have my concerns given that there's been damage reports. Anything else out of that, Cecilia, or is that all we've got so far right now? All right, so far all we've got is the power lines and trees down in terms of damage with this storm here. I do want to go ahead and put the tracker on it one more time with this rotation right here so we can see exactly where that's going. Once again, 30-ish miles per hour is what we're indicating here with this as it's now crossing in to Dooley County. And this tornado warning is in effect until 3:15 p.m. The same goes for the severe thunderstorm warning that was issued beforehand, which I was a little surprised it wasn't tagged with a tornado if possible because that rotation was already being indicated on the radar. But yeah, Hawkinsville around 3:35 p.m. Tippettville not long after 3. That's the immediate impact, unfortunately, for us is going to be Tippettville. You need to be in your safe place right now. We're talking about 10 minutes from now that this is going to be over your area. And then Wallace, that's going to be around 3:20 to 3:25. That's, of course, all of these with the exception of Tippettville are currently outside of the warning zone because the warning expires at 3:15. So currently that is good that only one location really is being indicated inside of this. Going to try to get a quicker look. There you go. So there's Tippettville right there in Dooley County. Wallace just further north, just outside of that tornado warning zone right now. But it looks like it's within the severe thunderstorm warning zone. And that is, of course, as we indicated before, that was 3:23 p.m. And then Hawkinsville, that was a little further north. So that was around 3:30, 3:35. Hopefully by the time this storm gets a little further north, we do see this weekend because it's not super impressive right now, but there's unfortunately been damage reports that have come out of this already, and it's still hanging on in terms of that rotation. So once again, there is that rotation. It's not very tight at all. If it was, the green would be brighter and the red would be brighter, and that would indicate that, yeah, there's a lot of wind going on there. So this is probably pretty weak, but anything tornadic is something that needs to be taken very, very seriously, which is why we need to be getting ready to take shelter as well. If we're talking rain with this storm, there's definitely a lot of that. Could even be some small hail in the core of it in these pink zones here. Plenty of lightning. A lot of ground-to-ground lightning in there as well. That's a bit of a concern. And that's why you want the weather radio. If the power should go out, you can still get your warnings and alerts that way while we still deal with this tornado warning here, which remains in effect until 3:15 p.m. This whole line of storms is moving north at like 30 miles per hour. We're going to try to etch that out here. So you kind of got this line here, and it's basically moving. I'm going to have to zoom out. It's moving northward, northeastward. Cecilia, let's see what that update is here. Continuing the tornado warning, severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located over Tremont or 7 miles southeast of Vienna. So once again, Vienna, you should be good. Unadilla, based on the current trajectory of this, be ready to take shelter, but you are outside of that warning zone, and we are seeing at least somewhat of an eastward trajectory. It's overall moving north, but it is a semi-eastward trajectory that is coming out of this storm. So now I've got a wider look at it here. I do want to try to draw the overall thing and just kind of see what we've got going on in terms of its direction and who may be impacted just by this overall mess. So it's going to be heading kind of northward like that, northeastward, and there you go. This looks like the times might be a little different than what the other thing was indicating, but this is for the whole mess of storms versus that one singular point in which we are following that rotation. And that point right now is just inside of the southeastern corner of Dooley County. And what they do with that tornado warning warning update was those in Crisp County are no longer in the warning. So now it's still including our 3 counties. They did shrink in on this eastern side. This was a little wider into Wilcox County before. So now most of Wilcox County is looking better. But we do still have this southwestern portion of Pulaski County here and much of eastern Dooley County that still are in the zone of this tornado warning. That's in effect until 3:15 p.m. So I'm going to draw out our little cone again, get some times. Tippettville, once again, right after 3 p.m. That is the one location, 100%, that is in this warning zone. You need to be in your safe place right now. A helmet, blankets, and a water bottle away, and of course, a weather radio. So in the event of a power outage, we've definitely seen our fair share of those lately with a lot of the stormy weather that we've had. That way you still can receive those alerts. This tornado warning was issued about 10 minutes ago, not even, 2:47, 2:48 p.m. Been following this storm since a little before that when there was some rotation on it, not long after 2:15, 2:20 p.m., but it's finally gotten close enough to the radar that the National Weather Service pulled the trigger on it because there's a little more certainty. That is what we are seeing now. What I'm hoping is that because this rotation doesn't look super impressive right now, is that we will end up seeing the warning expire when 3:15 comes around. More than likely, the current warning not going to get canceled while we're still dealing with this bit of rotation that's heading northeastward, but if we see this weaken a little bit more, locations such as Wallace that are just outside of this zone, or Hawkinsville, maybe we could ease up a little bit. But if not, then of course that warning will continue to extend off to the northeast. This is the first storm that we're watching right now in terms of overall activity today. Unfortunately, this might just be the beginning. Look at this. We've got another severe thunderstorm warning off to the southeast over here. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek at this to see when it expires and if there's any rotation going on with it as well. First off, that severe thunderstorm warning in effect till 3:15 p.m. None of these counties, this is just in effect for Coffee County in our region, but notice that that's also not very far south of Telfair County, which is in our region. So when we translate this over to velocity to see if there's rotation on it, it looks like there's a little bit. That lightning's kind of getting in the way just a bit there, but a little bit of rotation on it. This is definitely not as convincing as what we are seeing over here in Dooley County. Once again, it's the southeastern corner right now, and that looks better than it did before, as in weaker rotation, not improved rotation. It looked better rotation-wise just a few minutes back. If I go ahead and drag this back, you start seeing just how intense that green really is there. You see how it gets a little bit tighter as this is now starting to move right across there at Highway 280, and then it crosses 280 and then got up towards Dooley County, and at that point we start seeing it fall apart a little bit. So still is rotation on it, but it's definitely promising that we're seeing that rotation lighten up a little bit. Switching over to the correlation coefficient, we are seeing something a little different. So what you want to see with this is, you see this maroon color, you want everything to be that. When you start seeing lighter colors pop up, greens or blues, that indicates that there are things flying through the air that aren't rain. So maybe something slightly suggestive here, but nothing that is conclusive to saying, hey, there is 100% a tornado on the ground. I haven't seen anything in the National Weather Service chat either that is suggesting this is on the ground. Again, we did have some wind damage reports in Dooley County, or not Dooley County, excuse me, in Crisp County, and that was at 2:34 p.m. Since then, no reports have come in related to this, so that's definitely some good news there. We're just going to have to continue to follow this. 3:15 p.m., so 15 minutes from now is when this warning is set to expire. And if I go ahead and put this on with the velocity real quick, we're going to go ahead and draw our cone out. That looks a lot better than it did before. That looks way improved for us here in Middle Georgia. That is definitely a good look to see that beginning to weaken. As I put our little cone back out, I really wish we had a camera that could see down here, sky view. But unfortunately, we do not as of right now. So once again, Tippettville is the location that is inside of this warning polygon. We zoom in here. There it is, just inside of Dooley County. And then Wallace just outside. So we're waiting to see, will this get extended? If I were to guess, with the way this is trending, it's probably not going to get extended. So that's good news. Hawkinsville is going to be the first location that's in this storm's path with decent amount of population that could get affected, but everybody matters here. So if you are in somewhere like Tippettville, you need to be in your shelter right now. Lowest floor of your building. If you're in a mobile home, probably find somewhere else to stay, preferably not be in a car either, but lowest floor of a sturdy building, most interior room, no windows, and make sure you've got some protection. A helmet's a great idea to protect your head from any potentially flying debris. A weather radio is a good idea in the event of a power outage. If we can't get to you and you can't get to any other sources of Wi-Fi or whatever for your phone to get those notifications, at least the weather radio can pull through with the antennas and the signal and be able to get you that information. Cochrane now showing up on this cone. Cochrane's still a ways out from this, so that's the good news there over in Bleckley County. We have time in Cochrane. Hawkinsville is going to be the first location with decent population that's in the path of this storm. Tippettville is the most immediate zone. We're actually about to see this rotation move over that area. It might cross into Wilcox County just barely before it enters into the southwestern corner of Pulaski County. But it looks like with this, most of Wilcox County, you don't have to worry about the tornado threat, but we do still have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. So still some wind gusts that are possible and small hail. That is definitely something that is possible with cooler temperatures aloft. We've got those lapse rates up and allowing for hail to form. Nothing too crazy, but any hail is an indication of severe weather, and you can definitely see some of those cores being pretty bright right here just to the south of Unadilla and the east of Interstate 75. So a lot of lightning also. That's the big concern with the power outage threat, is there's a lot of lightning. Looks like the radar scan just updated here, and still pretty good. There's still a little bit of rotation. It's broadening, which is good. You don't want to see it tighten up. That's when those storms and the tornadic rotation get more intense. You want to see it broaden up. That allows that to weaken. And if I translate this to the correlation coefficient, this is what has me a little concerned, is that we're still seeing some sort of indication that there might have been something going on. We, once again, around 2:34 p.m., I believe it was, in Crisp County, reports came down of wind damage. And I know the Milledgeville tornado about a month ago, that Sunday morning, that was initially reported as wind damage before it was confirmed as tornado damage a little bit later once surveyors got to the scene. So unfortunately, we can't rule out the possibility that was indeed a tornado. When you get to these lower populated areas and further away from the radar, you don't always have the spotters out there to get you that information right when you need it. And so that's why right now, just take shelter and act as if, hey, this is a tornado that could be coming at you, because it could be on the ground. There's nothing suggesting that 100% is, because the rotation based on our velocity products is not looking very good, and we like to see that. But the correlation coefficient is showing some of those yellows, which could suggest otherwise. I would like to see another scan on this, just so I have a better idea like what we're dealing with here. If I'm going to go with the cone once again to just draw up where this is going through here, there you go. That's not even including Tippettsville anymore. Let's go back to where we had that. I want to make sure we get those same locations that were in there before in there again. Got to keep everybody safe. All right, there you go. So Tippettville is probably under this right now. You need to be in your safe place. Wallace, as I mentioned before, is just outside. So yeah, this is about to be on Tippettville, if not already, because these update every 5 minutes or so. There's a very good chance this rotation currently over the Tippettville area. Need to be taking shelter. I would be taking shelter in Wallace right now as well. Just get ahead of this. It's already 3:05. This warning set to expire in 10 minutes. If the National Weather Service will let it expire. Definitely going to be interesting to see what they do there. Rotation on velocity does not look very strong. Correlation coefficient, though, is suggesting that there may be a bit of debris. So that's going to be interesting to watch as the next 5 minutes or so go by and we get a bit of a confirmation on, hey, what are we going to do in terms of this tornado warning? I definitely think the severe thunderstorm warning is going to get extended. I will say that. There's definitely a lot of lightning, heavy rain, and enough hail that we're going to get the severe thunderstorm warning at the minimum to extend. But in terms of the tornado warning, would like to see that get canceled and let it expire before it really gets any further north. Once again, the southernmost counties here, we've got that level 3 risk, and that didn't include Macon County. It did earlier today. They kind of backed off of that, but Dooley County was firmly in that. Maybe the southern part of Houston County. I know Pulaski County was in it, as was Wilcox County. So all those, right now the forecast so far, verifying a bit, though I would like it to not verify anymore if possible. We do not need to see a lot of tornadoes. If rotation's all we got, cool. Then we have this other storm I checked on before. It's to the south of Telfair County. It's got a severe thunderstorm warning on it until 3:15 p.m. There is very broad rotation. It doesn't look organized at all right now, but it's also still quite a distance from the radar. And as I mentioned with that other storm, initially didn't look very impressive. It started getting a little closer, and that's when they pulled the trigger and said, hey, we're going to go ahead and put a tornado warning on this because the rotation is intensifying. But it does not look like it's doing that anymore. This is going to be crossing to Pulaski County very, very shortly, if it hasn't already, because these scans take about 5 minutes or so to come out. And it's a pretty slow-moving storm. 30 miles per hour, that's below average. Normally you see them move between 45 and 60 miles per hour, 60 definitely being on the faster side of things. You do see 45 quite a bit, though. They're expiring it? All right, cool. All right, we just got word that the National Weather Service is going to expire this tornado warning. Make sure you're still able to receive those alerts. Oftentimes with these storms, they rotate a bit, it weakens, and then it can tighten back up. So please remain weather aware. I'd probably not venture too far from the safe place. And of course, that safe place being the lowest floor of your building, preferably in the most interior room without windows. Helmet, a good idea, weather radio, and maybe some snacks. Try to keep yourself entertained in there while this passes over. We'll continue tomorrow. This as we go throughout the afternoon. Might just be getting started. Hopefully things work out for us. But this tornado warning should expire at 3:15 p.m. when it is set to expire. I doubt they're going to cancel it before that. But that would be good to see. There you go, new radar update. That scan looks even better than the previous. If I clear the cone out so we can get a better look at that. There you go. So just kind of walking through this as what we just saw versus what currently is. Look at that as it was in Crisp County. And again, 2:34 p.m., they reported wind damage in Crisp County. Then this comes up, and I mean, that has weakened a lot. You see just how this completely falls apart as it makes its way into Dooley County and up towards Pulaski County. So definitely nice to see that. And if that's the case, this is probably not related to that now because that rotation was more down here and this little dot's further up. Sometimes it'll pick up other things or whatever. It's usually when it's on the ground causing problems, it's pretty easy to tell with this correlation coefficient. So right now we're seeing that weaken, and look at the structure of the storm cell itself. That has weakened as well. That's a kind of thing to look for also. If I zoom back out, you're kind of going to see it a little bendy down there. You see how it's kind of got that bend, that little hook? And then as it comes up into Dooley County, you see that hook start to go away, and this is becoming more of a linear mess. So that's improved. But if we look further south, we are seeing a bit of a bend just to the south of Wilcox County here with this storm. Nothing being indicated there. And then there's this over here. The other storm I've kind of been watching, this severe thunderstorm warning, also set to expire in 5 minutes at 3:15. Do we have any other information on that warning, Cecilia? It's over, I believe that's Coffee County is where it is. Big county down there. Okay, so nothing else on this storm as of right now. And once again, in terms of rotation on it, this does not impress me at all. So this is probably hail-related or straight-line wind-related. And in terms of this storm over in Dooley and Pulaski counties right now, which this rotation bit into Pulaski County, you can definitely see that rotation has just fallen apart from what it was about 30 minutes ago when this warning first got issued. So improvements, and this should expire in about 5 minutes, and we'll continue to monitor these storms because, as I mentioned before, there's always the potential that sometimes they start rotating again. They cycle. They do cycle. So hopefully we don't see it intensify more. But the good news is that the risk for severe weather isn't as high further north. I do want to look at that SPC risk. I want to see if they put another one out, an updated one. Let's see. Here we are. They did not. So we are still seeing this, and that's where that cell is, right here, Pulaski County. That's that level 3. So conditions are not as favorable for those tornadoes as we get further north. So that's some good news. I'm hoping that most of this threat will stay south of us, and I hope it doesn't pan out for them either. I would love to see that we just don't have to deal with much in terms of tornadoes all day. And if none touch down, that's fantastic news. If we just get some rotation, that's fantastic news. One thing I haven't talked about yet, because it's not necessarily a severe thing, but just something to be aware of. There is a decent amount of rain coming with some of these storms. Areas that get hit with multiple of them could be a bit of a flash flooding threat. Always, when it comes to that, turn around, don't drown. If you see flooded roadways, if you can avoid the roads in this storm, please do so. It's pretty intense right now along I-75. Getting a look back at the radar, you'll indeed see that this storm is right on I-75. Actually, the most intense part now further east of it. It was kind of right on it. Either way, not a good day to be driving one way or another with severe weather threats and storms and everything. So the good thing is this has just become kind of this big blobby mess right now, and hopefully it will stay that way as it moves further north. And I'd love to see that storm further off to the southeast not take any more shape either. But currently, this tornado warning remains in effect for 3 more minutes, and then the National Weather Service does plan on letting it expire. I'm surprised they haven't canceled it out for this bit of Wilcox County as of yet. You'll see there, it's trying, but this is at this point just a mess. Cone of uncertainty. Let's get a drawing there. So Hawkinsville, based on this timing now, closer to maybe 3:40 p.m. It was saying 3:35 before, so that's about 5 minutes slower than initially expected. This storm heading towards Cochrane by about 4. Same with the Bleckley County Hospital, and that's just going to be what we watch next. Of course, Hawkinsville and down to Cochrane. So not a whole lot of people down here. That's some good news. This tornado warning should expire in the next 2 minutes. We will continue to monitor this storm. I wonder if they're even going to keep the severe thunderstorm tag on it. Usually by now, that next warning would have been issued. So that's good that they haven't issued that yet, I guess. Maybe the hail lightning up, or maybe not as much wind as initially expected.
It's not severe, but it's considered a strong thunderstorm, and there is the enhanced risk for a brief tornado.
On that storm tag, you mean?
Okay,
so what Cecilio just said or told me is that when it comes to this storm, they have not extended the severe thunderstorm warning, but it has a strong thunderstorm tag on it with an enhanced risk for a brief tornado. So, as I mentioned before with these storms, that rotation can cycle sometimes. I'm just hoping that as it continues to move further north, the environment may not be as friendly for tornadic development. We've had a lot of messy rain in the northern half of the region, and a lot of times areas that have seen that earlier in the day don't have the severe threat pan out the way areas that haven't seen that do. So that's going for places like Macon. Macon, we had a good amount of rain. Dublin maybe staying out of that as well. I think Lawrence County is not in the tornado watch, if I'm not mistaken. I know Bibb County is not in the watch, but all the ones that are currently here, Bleckley, southern Houston, or just all of Houston, is included. Twiggs County, not included in the tornado watch. So that's going to be very interesting. This storm heading right that direction, they were not included. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out, but tornado warning is expiring now. Stay safe, Middle Georgia. Keep an easy way to receive those alerts with you, weather radio, preferably in the event of things like power outages. And of course, try to have a great rest of your Thursday.